Being very entitled and controlling, narcissists have no difficulty stepping all over your personal boundaries. So that's why I put together an extensive video class called This Is Me. It has 25 videos, written documents, guided questions. I'm going to teach you how to have healthy boundaries. There's a link below, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. In order for you to have healthy relationships, there are many ingredients that need to be in place. But if we had to pick one characteristic above all that is necessary to have thriving relationships, I would focus in on the characteristic of trust. Trust sets up the possibility for many other healthy characteristics to come into play. Trust is closely linked to ingredients like honesty. It's closely linked to characteristics like reliability and responsibility. You know that one of my favorite characteristics that I like to focus on is that of conscientiousness, interacting with other individuals with their needs and feelings in mind and having that sense of harmonizing and collaboration. A trusting and trustworthy person is someone who prioritizes openness and authenticity. These are individuals who tend to be good listeners. They want to help create a feeling of safeness in relationships. And as I say this, I know many of you are already thinking, well, that's antithetical to the way that narcissists engage with individuals. One of the reasons that relationships with a narcissist will collapse is they don't bring the ability to trust in their relationships. Now, I'm going to want to talk with you about how their lack of trust can impact you. But before we get there, I want to see if we can zero in on what they carry on the inside and how they have all sorts of dysfunction that they deny. And so they try to put it on you. For example, what I mean by that is one of the first things we know about narcissists is they carry what I would refer to as a very weak interior. Now, by that, I mean they operate with a lot of psychological ineptitude. Whenever difficulties or strains or challenges can come, in their mind, it's like, I don't know how to deal with complexity. I don't know what to do when you're not the same as me. And so in their ineptitude, they show a lack of self-restraint. They show a lack of insight into themselves, but instead, they create just a very fluid sense of loyalty. They're loyal only as things are real simplistic and that fit inside their grooves. That being the case, we can also say that when narcissists come toward you, they operate with a great deal of binary thinking. Black, white, you're right or you're wrong. There's no nuance in between. And so anytime that you share an opinion or a preference or maybe one of your guiding beliefs or multiple guiding beliefs, rather than them saying, well, let's talk about that. It's like, no, it has to be either my way or not at all. And so they're not able to go into the space of saying, well, if we think differently, then perhaps we can learn and grow in the midst of our differences. And that can be a positive thing. Instead, what they'll do is they'll take the differences that you have and translate that into antagonism. If you differ from me, thinks the narcissist, then that means you're against me. And it's like, no, I just simply have thoughts that are not the same as yours. That's neither correct nor incorrect. It simply is. And for them, it's like, no, you're against me, aren't you? I don't know why, but you're just such an antagonistic person. And they operate with that kind of low-grade paranoia, if you will. Then this leads them, as a result, to go into and stay into a state of control. They must control you because they're thinking, I don't know about what you bring. I don't like what the characteristics you have. And so they have a lot of directives that they give to you. You better do this. You can't do that. And when you say, well, I'd like to be my own free person, that's what I want to do, your freedom scares them. It's like, I don't do freedom. I like to be free, but I don't want you to have a sense of freedom. And as a result, they operate with a great deal of anger because in their mind, this is a dirty world out there that's out to get them. That's what they're bringing as they engage with you. That inability to trust is an offshoot of this chaos that they carry from the inside. Now, as they engage with you, there are all sorts of presumptions that they want to put onto you. And I'll just go ahead and say, from your own experience, it's not very flattering to you. As narcissists bring their inability to trust, then it causes them to think, your humanity is not really something that I care about that much. You're somebody that I'm going to use. You're somebody that perhaps can help prop up my image to other individuals. In other words, they like flying monkeys. But in terms of them having any kind of empathy toward you or regard toward you or upholding you, they don't have that. They don't have humility at all. There's an egotism that drives them. And as a result, whenever you say, well, I want to share with you my personal issues, it's like they'll either destroy you once they learn that or they just have no regard for that. Likewise, another of the implications is they cannot trust is they don't see themselves as being problematic. If there's a problem in a relationship, well, it's got to be you because it's not them. So by default, you are going to be the difficult person in the relationship. How many of you have had discussions where you're just simply trying to talk about procedures or ideas or preferences, and it's like, I don't know how, but somehow I wound up being the bad guy in this situation, but that's how they operate. That being the case, as they engage with you, they are going to see themselves as a victim, and they're going to see you as the one victimizing them. They're constantly going towards the theme of your mistreatment toward them. They think poorly of what your motives or initiatives probably are. Likewise, as they engage with you in this non-trusting way, they can't be vulnerable. They can't be open with you. They only will share and talk about things that they know that they can control and contain, which means that they're going to be highly superficial in the way that they engage with you. The relationship is not going to have much of a deep root system at all. It stays functional, and that's pretty much it. And it's so important for you to realize that. You want to have a heart connection, but it's like, no, I don't do heart connection. I don't trust. And that doesn't fit into their paradigm. In addition, as they engage with you, another of the repercussions is they're going to be terribly thin-skinned. It might be that you'll say something that's slightly different from them or offer a suggestion like, hey, let's try this instead of that. And boom, they can come with a lot of agitation and annoyance and irritability and justifying and blaming and all. And it's like, whoa, where did that come from? I'm just simply trying to discuss issues and you're over here with this high defense mode. I can't deal with that. But then that's what they bring. In addition, we can say that narcissists will attempt to place their toxic idealism onto you. And when I say idealism, they have this notion about how you're supposed to admire them and adore them and go along with whatever they think because they have such an inflated and entitled view of themselves. They want you to have the same one. And then when you don't, it's like, well, something's very wrong with you. And so you're not going to measure up because you constantly fall short and disappoint them because you don't meet their ideal standards, which is very self-serving to them. Narcissists are all about judgment and shame and in their inability to trust rather than saying, I struggle with that. What they do is they place their judgment and shame onto you. It's part of their unfinished business. And so, like I say, one of the natural things that's going to be a net result of it all is that they're just going to have lots and lots of agitation, impatience, irritability, sometimes rage, sometimes passive-aggressive withdrawal, who knows. But their chaos is too pervasive, it's too strong for them to be able to engage successfully with you. The narcissist's conclusion is, I can't trust you because you might negate me, and I can't let that happen. That's what they're bringing to the equation. So knowing that it's highly predictable that they're going to have this style of thinking as they engage with you, I think it's going to be necessary for you to ask a fundamental question about yourself, and that is, well, do I see myself as trustworthy? I hope the answer is yes, I do. Now, the narcissist is going to look at you and say, absolutely no. But I'm hoping you can decide, well, this is somebody who operates with that inner chaos, like I just mentioned, and they're not going to be the final determiner of who I am, that's for sure. It makes no sense for me to put that kind of power into their hands. And so that leads to another question, and that is, can I remain or become and remain a healthy individual even as the narcissist says I'm not? And again, the answer is yes, you can. It means that you'll have to separate off from them psychologically and often physically and stay away from their influence. You might wonder, well, if I go into my good character, might I be able to create the possibility for trustworthiness to eventually emerge between myself and the narcissist? And of course, that's your idealism in reverse. Every now and then, the answer is, yeah, they could make some adjustment, but unfortunately, too many times the answer is you're not going to bring them up to your better standards in relationships. Unfortunately, the more negative one tends to win. It's more likely that they'll bring you down to their standards, so be very wary of that happening. So what we're going to say is know what you're dealing with. These are people who carry this internal strain and insecurity and bring it to you, and then they turn it around and say, you're the problem, you're not trustworthy, when in fact they've not come to terms with what they're supposed to do with all of the difficulty that they have not resolved on the inside of themselves. I hope that you can conclude, sure enough, I am going to be someone who's committed to being a trusting and a trustworthy person. But as I commit to that kind of quality, I want to make sure that I connect on the deepest level with people who know how to reciprocate. I can't allow that person and the chaos they bring to bring me down with them. I hope that videos such as this can give you some good awareness about what you're dealing with, and I hope that in doing so, it can prompt you to say, I'm going to be the better alternative. That's why I do these videos. If you've not already hit the subscribe button, I would strongly encourage you to do so. Gus and I, Gus, whom I trust, I might say, and he trusts me, we'll keep bringing more videos towards you. If you have a need for therapy, and I know many times when you're engaged with individuals who have this kind of dysfunction, having somebody to talk things out with can be very helpful. I would strongly encourage you to go into that route. We have a sponsor that's been with me now for several years, and there's a link below to the BetterHelp people, and I would encourage you to go into that direction. Likewise, I have my therapeutic courses, and each of these is like signing up for an online class. They have multiple videos and written materials with guided questions. We have Ready, Set, Connect about making good connection skills. This is me about establishing those boundaries you need, free to be finding yourself despite their control needs over you. We also have my webinars that are available. I've already presented them, but they're still available for you to purchase and to gain benefit from. We have my podcast. We have our website with many articles on there, and we have my books, plenty of resources. Like I say, trust is central to healthy relationships. Unfortunately, it's not central to the way of narcissism. That being the case, I hope you can know what you're dealing with and make your adjustments accordingly. And in doing so, I hope that you commit to what we stand for here on Team Healthy: dignity, respect, and civility. And in the process, it positions you to be a person of peace.